Hi there, everyone. This is Matt with the Grappling Podcast, and in today's episode, Levi and I discuss the path from blue belt to purple belt. This also marks our 50th episode of the Grappling Podcast. Woo! So that's pretty cool. And in this episode, some of the things you can hope to learn are more of the overarching themes as it relates to becoming a purple belt. So for those who don't know Levi personally, he's a brown belt, and then I'm a blue belt. So I'm currently doing this process as we speak. So we touch on some of the things that we've learned, some of the mistakes we've made, and kind of the direction our training looks like it's going to be going here in the near future. So we hope you get a lot of value out of this episode. If you are a blue belt on your way to purple belt, we hope this definitely is a helpful resource for you. And without further ado, here we go. Let's dive into the path from blue to purple. Did you hear that beep?
Does that mean that we're live?
That means that we're recording. We are. And not just any episode today, folks. It is episode 50
Whoa.
for the Grappling Podcast.
We are so old.
Isn't that crazy?
50. Yeah.
Yeah,
What
episode 50.
I feel like you would have come prepped with stats of like how many podcasts
Oh my
do
God,
people
episode
get
50.
to 50, you know, like stat wise.
I don't know. That's
Could-
actually a good question.
People always say that with jiu-jitsu or martial arts to be like the amount of people like get the first stripe is just, you know, how many
Yeah.
people come in and then it's like that people become blue belts and then
That's such...
purples and browns and
I
blacks.
don't believe a minute of that. Like, because
Well, I'm sure there are.
is every school, like, I know you can do like inferential statistics, but
Yeah.
is every school going
It just
like
sounds
every
so
white
cool.
belt you
Look
get
how
in?
special I am. I mean, there obviously are stats. Like, let's say like every 20 people that sign up, like how many people go to blue belts? You know, it's like, but that changes for every. Ooh, I can't really hear my voice now.
I'm playing with the game.
Like every school is different, just because every school can be, have their own. Almost this voice is it's messing me up right now, Matt.
Oh, I'll turn down your gain then.
I was almost like there's that social experiment where they had big groups of people, and all they did was play their voices back to them at like a 0.7 second delay
Oh, it's the
or
worst.
like whatever back. And
When
you're
I'm
like-
on
you're
calls
catching-
and
you're
that
catching
happens,
your
oh, I
voice.
hate it.
But
Hate
instead,
it.
it just like stops people from yelling and talking, like they're hearing themselves
Oh.
back, and they kind of just get, like break up at that point.
It's hard to talk when you have an echo.
Yeah, I was just like suddenly I was okay with it, and that's only my. That's it. But I'm saying different schools have different stats like that. You know, like some school might have every 100 people that sign up, like how many people ended up, you know, going to this stripe or getting to this belt rank. It's funny because that actually kind of leads into our topic a little bit today.
Oh yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
transition.
we did
Look
it.
at that. It wasn't even planned.
Synced in, unless you had
Yeah.
some other segue, one that you just want to go through just to make yourself feel good.
No. Actually, to lay out today's topic for our listeners, so we're going to be talking about the transition and exploration of blue to purple belt. And we have a kind of a structure to this episode that we're going to try out. So first, I'm going to interview
for a special
Levi
50th
for a special 50th episode.
We're gonna have structure.
Yeah. Some structure
No way.
and some bass and maybe some posture.
Oh jeez.
But no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Levi a couple questions about his experience from blue to purple and some lessons and learned and
Lovely.
mistakes made, because Levi is a brown belt. And then I'm actually currently
Some
on
belt.
the blue to purple belt journey. And so I actually have a couple takeaways that were kind of like light bulb moments for me so far, you know,
Oh,
and
that's
so that's really cool to feel your own development a little bit.
Nice.
And then we'll end with some conversation about what Levi's been brewing up in terms of
Always
thinking about the progress of blue to purple from like a school standpoint.
Yeah. Sweet.
So are you ready?
Lay it on me.
Is your seatbelt on?
No.
Put it on, dude.
Who wears seatbelts these days?
I'm gonna wear a 5-point harness today. Hold on.
I feel like that would be a great back control instructional name.
5-point harness.
5-point harness.
It'll be really funny for the picture if like say like you're sitting in your car seat driving and I'm sitting on your lap and then you're doing the like and then you've got like a seatbelt position on me as I'm driving.
yeah.
That'd be so
That'd
funny.
be funny. Sit in the
It's like,
car. and like,
yeah, there's two people. You're seatbelted
Body
into the
triangle.
car. I'm seatbelted onto you or something.
for
It's so funny.
for safety, buddy.
And I'm smiling driving the car.
Or let's go like from behind the seat too.
Oh, that'd be
You
funny.
can do that
Yeah.
right there.
But okay, so Levi, you are a brune belt.
Apparently so.
And so how long ago were you a blue belt? When did that
How
happen?
long have been a
How long
brown
ago?
belt?
Yeah, no, how long ago did you be a blue belt?
Oh, I think there's a website called Belt Checker. Let's see if I can pop onto that website once. So Belt Checker.
Did you verify it on Belt Checker?
Yeah.
Oh, am I on Belt Checker?
No, I think you have to be able to put your own profile in. I don't know why I did it. I think it was kind of like a new hot thing at that point where like
Oh, let me see that picture. You have shorter hair.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that.
It's a little shorter. Well, let's see once here. So, seems where if I click my profile. So, if anyone wants to do this, I'm not sure why they have it on there. I think it's just for people to double check other people have like verified, like, yeah, you are this bell ring. It says I've been training 16 years, 5 months of training.
Okay.
Apparently 4 medals. Let's see what's here. I'll go down to my stats. I say that because like I have like certificates of like me getting brown belts,
look at that.
blue belts, something like that. Okay, so
Probably a good idea actually.
I got
since you're a school owner.
blue belt December 1st, 2010. I
Okay.
believe. Yes, that was when I completed.
14 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, we had a pandemic in there, you know.
14 years. Yep. So I was
Did that before time.
Yep. And then I was at oh wow, I was at a blue belt for 5 years, 11 months, and 11 days
Dang,
as of right now.
that's a long. Oh, like, wait, hold on. So you actually were a blue belt? I'm just saying, is that website accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's accurate because I put in like times, like I got.
Let me see this. Okay. Let's see. So 5 years, 11 months, and 11 days.
Yeah.
You were a blue belt.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a while to be a blue belt. That's pretty cool though, because you actually get to hang out. Blue belt's a good one to hang out with for a while.
So for those people that aren't in the know, like when I was transitioning through a blue belt, I was helping with a Gracie certified training center. So we did not have any higher up belts that were there all the time to like promote us on the regular or to, to advance ourselves. We were focusing on developing the Gracie Combatives program and Masters program. And they would do things where they'd have like Chet Skimmelhorn, which is a black belt, that would come up and, train a little bit, or stripes and things like that too. And it was just a lot more relaxed. I think we were just so more immersed in the jiu-jitsu aspect and not so much with the ranking aspect.
Yeah, which is cool.
So I think that's where it was just a little bit more of a relaxed approach versus most gyms that have like browns or black belts running it. Like it's way more consistent. Like I probably would have been purple within, 2.5 years or something like that.
I think being a blue belt for a while though was cool. Like I was a white belt for like 6 years or 7 years.
Well, and again, at that point, like my blue belt career was just very relaxed. I think just because I was getting out of the training wheels of being a white belt, and now it's just really, you don't know what you know now. It's like there was elements to it where I was, like it was really finding all the complication stuff out with being a blue belt. Like that was that was not a fun time. As my career as a jiu-jitsu player, blue belt was just not cool. Say that because like you're going against white belt, you're going against purple belt. Like blue belt, you feel like you kind of are king shit a little bit, but then it's like, no, you're going against other blue belts, and there's no really strong footing. You're basically just throwing and vomiting jiu-jitsu against each other, and there's no organization to it. Like, oh, I got an arm lock. Ooh, I got a triangle choke. Like that's to me when I'm starting to think more about being in that blue belt phase. Like it's just a mess. It's a more structured mess, or more what's a better word for it? Like you can see, you can pick things apart more from the mess versus a brand new white belt moving around. It's just a total mess. But now it's like, ooh, there's an arm lock. Ooh, there's an elbow escape. Like you can see some structure within the chaos a little bit. But it's still just bad, super bad.
So what were some things you learned? Some like big takeaways you had when you were going through your blue belt journey?
From blue to purple, a big thing was just working on comboing things together. What was a big one? Like going from arm lock to triangle choke, or
and those mainly in the gi, or did you do both at the time?
No, I did mostly the gi.
Okay.
I mean, every once in a while, I think we did a little bit no gi, but most of it was the gi. No, I mean, when I was going through it, it was just, I guess it was me more perfecting technique than it was. I mean, there was combination still, but it was like me still trying to explore the entirety of jiu-jitsu. Like I was gaining more knowledge and setups and things like that. I think that's the way I'm perceiving it now. It was just more like amassing information is a better way to put it.
When you were a blue belt, you're saying?
Yeah, it was just like gaining more things. It was like there's little strategic things or little adjustments, but I was just gaining random knowledge about different positions. Like I would try to connect things together, but it was just no. A lot of times it was just also like trick techniques. You know, I found something on YouTube or
Baseball bat
whatever.
joke.
Like baseball bat, like something just like, oh, here's this cool thing, and so it became more exploration as a blue belt. And I think that's where I feel like I didn't make as much progress as I could have. It was more just like Matt can relate with this, like just walking around the Fox River Mall on a Saturday.
Yeah, this is kind of
It's just
moseying.
like you're moseying around, like you're looking at
Oh,
stores,
look at
you're
that.
hanging
There's
out.
the cookie place
But
that's still in business for some reason.
But there's no like, I mean, you sit, look at, look sharp or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what you'd be.
I used to go and it was just a stand,
Oh, a stand. I remember that.
and then it became a building.
But it's just like there's no efficiency. You're just kind of moseying around the art. So when I was practicing, it was the same thing. So the Gracies at the time, they had a Gracie Master Cycle, and they had the university thing where they had like Stripe 1, Stripe 2 content. So I would basically go through it. But again, it was just like different variations, different setups. There was no systemizing of anything. It was like, here's 3 more setups to a triangle choke. Here's, especially coming off of combatives, which was self-defense based, the idea was like, how do you beat people who know just a little jiu-jitsu?
Versus someone who knows a lot of jujitsu.
Yeah, versus a lot. So it was just like little adjustments of things. It was just like, I don't know. It just didn't feel, it felt very old school where it was just like technique for technique.
Okay.
So there wasn't like, especially when it was chaotic in a match, you're just hunting for the technique.
Can I shoot this triangle? Can I shoot this triangle?
Yeah,
kind of
that's
thing?
what it was.
Yeah.
And then they'd stop it, and I'm like, oh, I should have just held them down tighter, and I would have gotten it. And just like, oh, they broke out. Time for something else. Like, there wasn't any purposefulness or guiding light with it. Like, it sucked. I did not like that at all. But I was so in love with the art and what I was doing at the time.
I think that's how everybody starts those. They
Yeah.
just like spam the spell they know, you know?
But that's where I got a lot of confusion, especially once I became a purple belt at that time too. I think I was looking at other purple belts, and I was going, this way that I was doing it right now is not going to get me established as a purple belt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I started going down mastery of systems or mastery of things, and that's what broke me out finally from kind of a blue belt Levi. Like it was mastery of one thing, which was the cross collar choke, and that's kind of what I started getting known for. That I just decided, you know what, screw this. I'm just focusing on this one move. Frankenstein from 100 different black belts and videos, stitched together and did all these great things, and that got me out of my blue belt shell.
So by going deep.
Yep. With one thing. What? Give me
Nice.
a look.
No, I'm just saying nice. No, I'm looking at
okay.
our recording software, and they
Oh.
took away the timer on it.
Oh, that's
So I'm
weird.
just like, well,
So
I
we
hope
don't
it's
know how long
going.
Oh, for
I hope it's
recording?
going. Like it's come on to
Whatever.
script.
I think
What are you guys doing?
I think we'll be fine.
So no, that's cool though. So let me think about this. Some of the concepts here, right? So it sounded like it was topic du jour a bit, which actually makes sense because when you're a white belt, you're just absorbing and trying to absorb, and then you start to learn some of the things you kind of like, and you're like you can recognize the language, you could recognize the moves, you can do that type of thing, and then you started kind of throwing those out there, going like, ooh, I know an arm bar, so I'm going to do an arm bar. I know a triangle choke, so I'm going to do a triangle choke, kind of thing, right? And it sounds like some of your opponents were doing the same thing, so you're both just trying to spam the few good techniques through. And then the thing that really elevated your game and brought you to the next level was being able to have a deeper understanding of a submission family.
Yeah, and I think the analogy I could give with it, and I've given it here a couple times, was like white to blue is like learning the country and its states and capitals, like learning it. And blue belt for me is a little bit different here than it was then. Blue belt to purple was like backpacking across America. You kind of just like, I'm just going here today. I'm just going here today. Like I didn't have any purposefulness of like
Where you wanted
how
to go.
to get there and how efficient I can get there. and how to overcome obstacles on the way there, I just like hitchhiked all the way around. Like, oh, I'm going to Maine today. Oh, I'm going to Florida today. Like that was kind of my experience from blue to purple. It was just like there's no like I was so in the thick of just loving jiu-jitsu. Everything was new, so I was just like going all over the country and just looking at jiu-jitsu and jiu-jitsu and jiu-jitsu. Like, oh, today we're doing back control stuff. Cool, we're doing whatever. Like it was just
But that actually probably worked for you really well though, because then you develop a base of knowledge and
yeah, it did,
or at least experience.
So that was fine, and I guess I wasn't really hating it too much. But I was looking ahead at like mythical purple belts and brown belts and being like, I want to be like that. But I just thought it was just putting more time in. To me, it was just like just doing it more.
But that's actually not always the case.
No, it wasn't. It was just you become basically a jack of all trades at that point, which is like somewhat the biggest lie in jiu-jitsu.
Isn't that kind of funny?
Yeah. Like you have to have a raised base as you get more experience with everybody, but no, like people have things that they're just phenomenally better than
how tall is a pyramid?
That seems like a trick question.
I think I've asked you this on the podcast before.
How tall is a pyramid?
As wide as its base, dude.
As wide.
It's just a silly like training analogy.
Oh,
okay.
I was like, wait a second.
Some people have heard that one before.
Because it depends on you can have a miniaturized one, but that makes I
That's
get what you're saying.
not a pyramid.
You can have a mini
That's
pyramid.
too obtuse.
Something happening. But yeah, I mean, me just moseying around blue to purple. Yeah, I wasn't really on a big rush for promotion or getting ranked. I was just exploring and loving jiu-jitsu at that point. But as far as my progress is concerned, like that's not when it was happening for sure.
Well, you know, there's an interesting thing to think about in these topics though when you look back, because it's easier to look back and go, yeah, I wasn't making as much progress then.
Yeah.
But maybe you actually were. So to make a slight analogy here, Dan Carlin dropped his newest episode of Hardcore History. It's about Alexander the Great, and it's really good.
How often does he give? Or
every couple months, because they're 4 hours long.
Yeah.
They're amazing. Anyways,
I should listen to that.
the whole episode talks about the spoiler alert, but it's not. It's history.
About
It already
Alex?
happened. But no, it actually talks about like all the things that set up Alex to be great.
Oh, interesting.
And it was actually like someone else built. He gives the analogy. Someone else built the Maserati. He was the one who knew how to drive a Maserati very well, and he knew how to maintain a Maserati.
Like history
but actually,
kinda set it
Philip
up,
II, his father, and a couple of the people before him are the ones who actually built the war machine that he piloted. So it's interesting that you would say Alexander the Great, but his dad was actually like quite an insane conqueror, like crazy how much he did. And Alex wouldn't have had the success that he had if it wasn't for the work that was done before him.
Oh.
So in a weird way.
So what had made him great was him using the weapon, I guess, or using
part of it. It was they say it was a couple different things. It was one, he had an unbelievable weapon at his disposal.
Sure.
But two, he was educated on how to use this weapon to its maximum degree, and three, he was just amazing at using it too. Like his talent was incredible.
But not like so much innovation of like creating this thing. So just a different, like he didn't make the sword, but he wielded it.
Yeah, and then it was like, if you say it was like a mythical blade, he didn't make the mythical blade, but he knew how it worked. He knew how, and he was an incredible fighter with it, kind of thing. Would be if we're using that analogy.
Type of thing, yeah.
Like he, yeah. Anyways, but so like that funny thing is that moseying around at blue belt, maybe that actually did help your total development though, because it widened your base of knowledge.
Yeah.
Made you realize where you wanted to go.
Yeah.
And though you may not have progressed as fast as you wanted, it may have been the planting of the seeds that later grew the progress that you made at purple belt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always knew that I was going to keep progressing with martial arts and having it involved with my life, but I think I just didn't realize the stock that would be expected of me once I hit purple and brown.
You saying like, as in like your abilities that would be expected?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. What's a good example of it? I mean, I guess it's like being a kid and then being an adult. You just assume like you just spend time and you'll just have these abilities and these things. Like you have to.
That's a good analogy.
You have to put purposeful work in to be able to set yourself up for these things, because if you don't, other people will be like, well, I'm sitting here having gym work where I'm developing my triangle game, I'm developing this. Like, you're coming here to work. You're not just like painting something. You're not just putting brushstrokes. It's like you said, like you putting in the time, but it's like, I think if you have purposeful intentions too. I think that would just help develop
Your
your game.
training versus working out kind of thing.
Yeah, with all that. So that's a good example. It was like blue to purple was me being in the gym and lifting all these different weights and utilizing all these different things. So I had an experience with all of them, but I didn't like gain this massive amount of strength and abilities.
You weren't like, no, I'm going to deadlift.
Yeah, I just kind of knew everything, you know. I just moseyed around at that point, but I didn't have this like purposeful plan, like I'm going to be amazing at squat or whatever. So
Nice.
But
that's an interesting tale. And I didn't know you were a blue belt
tale.
for 5 years.
I
That's
didn't
cool.
know. I didn't know either.
That's cool though.
It's
That's
not
kind of
that-
neat. Well, that's
a little
cool
bit,
because
yeah.
people listening might go, "Oh man, I've been a blue belt for a while." And it's like,
Sure.
hey, dude, Levi was a blue belt for 5 years.
Well, and the thing is too, like
Just because Nikki Gordon, or no,
Nikki
sorry,
Gordon?
Nikki Ryan. Yeah, I had to
you
write
put
the first
two of the
time.
Ryans in there.
Yeah, but Nikki Ryan, there's too many Nickis, too many
Yeah.
Nickis, and they got same last names between the
Yeah.
Nikki and Gordon. But he actually skipped blue belt, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, but I think a lot of times with gyms too, when you talk about rank, and especially we're talking about ranks here, like most gyms should have levels of, here's this progress of what needs to be seen in order to be, having this rank. And so I think some people, like I talked with an individual the other day and asking them again how long they've been doing jiu-jitsu, and kind of the same answer Matt would give was like, well, like it becomes complicated. Like I had some time off and did this, so
Yeah, I had a baby.
it's hard when sometimes like when I say I've been a blue belt for 5 years. To me, I think a lot of people makes it sound like, wow, you came 4 or 5 times a week, and it took you 5 years to do it.
That'd be nuts.
Well, but that's like the thought process. Like
No,
when you think 5 years,
Life
or whatever.
works in waves.
But this is
you know?
why. But then it's harder to say, oh, I took 727 classes. Like then you could be weirder about it. It's like it took you this versus it took someone 300 classes
Yeah, I think
or whatever. Like
I was technically a white belt. Let's see. Yeah, like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
But I wasn't training 6 or 7 years. It was like 2 years of combined training over those 6 or 7 years.
But I think this is where we're talking about the stock of like being a brown belt or a black belt. It's like, I guess it doesn't matter how long it takes to get there. I think it just, there's more expectations set up for you at brown or black belt across the board. So it's like,
As there should be.
well, I'm saying like, so it doesn't matter if it took you 3 years to get there or 8 years or 12 years. It's like, it doesn't matter as long as you're well cooked at that point. So that's kind of where your real value comes out by the time you hit brown belt. It's like now people are going to really measure your skill set. It's kind of the joke I was making to Reagan the other day about her competing for the first time this weekend, and kind of like, you don't take any stock with it. Guys like Gordon would say, no one cares about wins underneath black belt. Like saying in this long
Because
term,
that
if
is
you're trying to
the
be,
true test, to beat somebody at black belt.
Well,
What an amazing thing
that
that
was
would be.
Rob's whole thing, right?
Yeah.
You're like your
Actually-
value at the end of the day. It should be your ability to, I don't know if he said beat, like at least, wait. If you beat someone at competition and then you have to like go toe to toe with them literally in the training room. He says, but if you get smashed by another black belt in the training room, you're not a black belt. I think that was his analogy.
I can't remember, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. And if you take any metric, I think that would be the thing. If a black belt can just trounce you, and you're a supposed black belt,
No, what's interesting though is he
I guess you have
says
to have more black belts.
he also says though there's black belts and then there's black belts.
But
and
I'm
he's the first to say that too.
but it's still something where you have to have some sort of survival sense as well too.
Yeah,
But
you
the
don't want
hard
to be a
part
McDojo black belt.
He doesn't. I don't think I've asked him that question above like the degrees with black belts. What he thought about that, like first degree and second degrees and things
That's
like
a
that.
good point, and I guess nobody really ever talks about it.
Well, and a lot of people talk about it in the sense of like you're black belt for 2 years or some crazy.
Or being able to give a black belt, because it's the only belt where you're at it and you could give it to somebody.
Yeah.
Usually you have to be beyond it, right?
Yeah.
Like kind of thing is what most people want. So
But
some people
degrees,
would want to be a second degree black belt so
like-
they can hand out a first degree.
like if Rob was an 8th degree black belt and he goes against a fresh black belt, then it's like okay. Same with chess ratings. Like there's no max rating like that. Like you have to, being a black belt is such a blanketed term. It basically just means you've experienced a lot of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But to the degree that you wield the weapon of war, makes you Rob the Great.
So let's.
Robert.
I'm gonna bring us back to blue belt.
Okay.
Okay. So I think that was a cool experience there. I'm just gonna rattle through a couple thoughts here that I've found that maybe other people will find helpful.
Yeah.
Throughout my blue belt journey so far. And just so everyone knows, I am currently a blue belt. So
1 stripe blue belt.
I'm a 1 stripe blue belt. I'm a almost baby 6 pound 7 ounce baby Jesus blue belt. But yeah, I'm just a blue belt hobbyist, so on and so forth. I compete as my body allows it and whatnot. But okay, so I feel like I've started the process of combining moves together, which is funny that you were talking about that because I feel like I'm starting that process a bit more of trying to chain things together in a way that makes sense to me.
Yep.
I've noticed too that my body just moves sometimes to capitalize on something a little bit more than me like actually thinking about it. Like if a person crosses, say you're in mount and they kind of turn to the side, it's like boom, back take, belly down, get a good control of like whether it's a claw grip or like a figure four, and I'm probably going to the back. And it's just kind of like you can just kind of do it and the muscle memory's there, which is nice. And versus at white belt, I feel like I had to think about everything I did a lot more.
Yeah.
So I'm able to just kind of move a little bit, which is nice, and just kind of go with that. And I like it because it's faster and smoother than, which also makes it more likely to be successful. So versus going, what am I going to do here? Okay, maybe I should put my hand over here. Just versus just whoop, boom. Okay, I got the back. I can't do it with everything, just a couple spots, but I've noticed that happened a few times. Where you just like you feel like you're moving like a jiu-jitsu guy, you know, if that's the way to think about it.
Yeah, when you feel the flow kind of connect a little bit.
Yeah.
You know the pathways. I hear you.
So another big change has been starting to look for more S tier moves. I wrote spells here, but yeah, essentially some S tier spells. So for those who don't know, like video game rating things of like video game characters and things like that, and people compete in and weapons and stuff like that. It's like an S and then A, B, C, D, E, or A, B, C, D, you know, depending on what the scoring criteria is, right?
Yeah.
And S usually means like it's the best, you know, the people who take this the furthest, you know, if you're playing like Street Fighter, right? There's some characters you'll see that keep popping up in finals because they're S tier characters, whether it's like their frame rates, how they can hit, and all these other different things, their distance they can generate, and just their specials, whatever the advantage is, they seem to have some clear advantage. And you'll see usually only a handful of characters in a game or in a thing or weapons or whatever the category of things you're rating are in S tier. And I think jiu-jitsu moves fall into the same categories where there's some stuff that works really well, you know, against like white belts, people who don't know it, like Levi was saying with like the tricks. But ultimately, the stuff at black belt that actually is going to get you the most mileage is probably 90% S tier moves, or, you know, maybe not 90%, but 90%. But most of your game should be built around S and A tier moves with sprinkling in some of the Bs, maybe a couple Cs on like a crazy scenario. But if you build your whole game around D tier moves, like you're just going to be cruddy at jiu-jitsu, and all the time you'll have spent getting really good at something dumb.
Yeah.
And that may not actually be that effective. So that was like kind of a big realization for me, and I knew it intuitively, but now I feel like I'm starting to figure out what moves are S tier moves that I should be sinking more time into. Because I actually, if Aaron's listening, Aaron, hey, how's it going? Aaron helped me with some over-under passing that we were doing some drilling, and I was like, you know, I think over-under passing is not going to have the mileage I think it does, as much as I like over-under passing in no-gi. Or just I like over-under passing, but I think in no-gi it's not going to have the outcome I want. And then Rob did validate that thought for me afterward. But Aaron and I were doing some drilling, and his goal was just to stop me from passing. That was it. And if I leave something hanging out there, take it. And I noticed that if you're a little bit sloppy with your arm, you're giving them a Kimura. Your head is so close to the leg that if they can just get their thigh out a little bit, they can pressure against your head and break your posture. And then your head is down and you're further away from them than you wanted to be. It was a bummer because I was getting actually all right at over-under passing, but it made me realize that that's kind of like a C tier pass.
Sure.
So the thing that I've been trying to do for my blue belt, or, you know, blue belt journey right now is go, okay, it's good to know about those. Sometimes they work. You know, if I want to do them, I guess do them, but I'd rather build my passing game around things that work at the highest level, like knee cuts, and you see like, you know, certain types of loose passing and some smash passing, body locks, stuff like that, because that's obviously shown to be very effective. There is a bit of a confounding variable in the fact that stuff you see at the highest level sometimes might just be because that's what everybody's being taught too, though. So you have to keep that in mind and take everything with a grain of salt. But I think that is a huge difference, that if if you start looking for those S and A and B tier moves and building your game around that, I feel like you can't help but be better as a practitioner than being like, I'm going to get really good at some version of deep half guard or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think about some of those thoughts? I got a couple more, but I just thought I'd take a break.
I think a lot of it is that once you get to that blue belt level, I think it's you trying to enhance different areas of your game with more of a specific focus. And it definitely helps having those S tier style strategies, as it were. You know, it's like you kind of know your general tasks and paths of what you're trying to go for. And now you have to wield the tools to be able to accomplish those tasks. So it's the best thing you can do is look at people who are about your same size, especially in the highest level, and taking main strategies that they utilize in those specific situations and see if you can utilize the same thing, right? So if you're a bigger person, maybe you do Kesagatame or arm locks or whatever from that kind of position. Or if you're lighter, you might go more loose passing and moving around. But like Matt said, putting more efforts into S tier things. And honestly, it's not just like the technique, because you have to think about both ends of like, you're going to do this technique, like Matt was saying, the over-under pass. And just like you were saying about how they could Kimura me, they can shift me over, like all these things. You have to think about the inverse when you're doing a S tier mastery. So if you're doing triangle chokes, it's not just about getting into triangle chokes and being good at mechanics. You have to be aware of like, how are they going to counter this? How are they going to counter my triangle choke? Like when you have that yin yang mastery, like I think that's where people get developed as far as like a situational mastery versus just like one side of the table, as it were, you know, like, because otherwise you're going against more experienced people and they're just stopping it. And they're like, oh, I've been working so much on my triangle mechanics. And it's like, well, here's this main counter that they do or main escape. So it's like, if you really want to get good, you have to be able to know both sides of the coin.
It makes it, and it's interesting that if you funnel a person by giving a specific technique to that individual that they have to solve, they've only got so many answers that they could possibly give you within the realm of playing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So the more you do that thing, the more you'll see all the possible responses that they could give you.
And that will give you more relaxation as well. So if you get someone a triangle choke, you're like, dude, I've seen every which way people get out of this and every single level of mastery with it.
There's only so many options too when you have your head and their arm smushed between your legs.
So you're not going to be surprised like when suddenly you're going through it and suddenly it's like, what the heck? They're doing something like this? Like you get less and less of those moments as you progress more and more. And that allows you to actually be more relaxed, going like, hey, no matter what you do right now, I have an answer for that, and I can mitigate this, you know? And that gives you a lot more relaxation when you're going for submissions and end game stuff, or even whatever aspect of jiu-jitsu grappling. Like, the more time you put into it and you have the comfort with it, you're not really surprised how they're going to react at that point. That's why you can see some people who are like alligator trainers. That looks like they're just so insane, but they know exactly like where to touch the alligator.
They're crazy. They're still crazy.
But it's still, I'm saying from the outside
they're
perspective.
Touching alligators, Levi.
I know. I had this one video where a guy was showing how relaxed it was, and he said, watch, I'll put my hand right here, and the thing snapped towards the hand. But he's like, I could put it here and here and here, and he doesn't care. But if I put it like in one spot, like he'll snap. So it's just saying that you're knowing something so well. I mean, like any sport, you know, or any activity where it seems like anybody would be freaking out. It's just putting in time in.
Yeah, there's only so many options from so many spots. I remember Rob was talking about like chaos theory and whatnot too, being something to kind of think about as you're like thinking about jiu-jitsu game, where like passing and playing guard from an opening position has just like, it's a middle of a node with infinite number of possibilities, and is a way to think about it, versus the minute you create connection, now you're removing possibilities around that node that you could potentially understand, because you're never going to understand every single possible permutation that a person could move their body for a pass.
That's why Eddie Bravo was saying that the worst thing to do in jiu-jitsu is to pass from scratch.
Yeah.
Scratch is just like you're disconnected and now you got to go.
Versus like yesterday,
darn it,
we were playing around with, being able to like, okay, if I can do this one thing, right? If I can get this one connection point, what can I do from there?
Right.
The answer is I'm going to try it tonight and we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
But okay, so a couple other items. Sounds funny, but I was so focused on playing a top game for a while here that I kind of got a pretty cruddy bottom game. I've been trying to work on that too, because what self-respecting purple belt wouldn't have an okay guard, you know? So I've been really transitioning more to playing more bottom game.
Nice.
I can't right now too much with hurting my rib. To those who are listening, I ended up kind of like cracking a rib, and it's just like a weird freak thing. Nobody was doing anything crazy. It's just strange, kind of
Sure.
zig and zag kind of deal. And so I can do a little bit, but I have to be very careful about it. And I can't play bottom guards very well until my rib heals, but just because it puts a lot of tension on me.
Yeah.
But anyways, that is something I'm really excited to play with. And I was really bummed when I hurt my rib because I was, well, one, no one ever likes getting injured, but two, I was really starting to connect some cool ideas and some long range sweeps and stuff like that. And I was having a lot of fun with it.
Nice.
And then you actually gave me an aha moment that I've been playing around with in terms of guards. You give me a lot of aha moments, but this one was that guards are not places to like hang out in. They're like you got to go. Like it's just constant movement. And I think with the fact that a lot of people get taught close guard first, including myself, that you start to think of guards as a place you go and hang out. Like I get you here and then I do the thing I want versus good enough, right? Like you get a foot good enough where you need it. You get a hand good enough where you need it, right? And you go for the thing you wanted to do. And if you don't get that, you transition to another, like get your hand roughly here, control this part of their body, get this thing lifted up, get that off the ground, push them this way, right? Like it's a kind of seems like it's like lower peak threshold kind of movement, but it's more consistent.
Yeah, guards have to be like, if you're in a guard within 5 seconds or in a guard for 5 seconds and you have no clue where you're going and what you're doing, like that's a huge sign. Like you should not be doing that. Like if you're getting a half guard or close guard or whatever, you should immediately be like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm creating right now. It's not a chill spot to be.
All right. And then here's one more. I've been thinking a lot more about alignment.
I'll work on that a lot more.
Just how it like threads into the game. So for those who didn't listen to our Rob Bernanke episode, you should. It was actually 2 episodes, episode 47 and 48 with Rob Bernanke and then Dusty Jelly. And we were talking all about alignment and that. So you can go back and listen to it. It's a popular episode of ours. And it's just base posture and structure, meaning like your ability to apply and absorb force, the integrity of your spinal column, and then how you're using frames and wedges to essentially like achieve your goal. And you want to take as much of those away from your opponent as you can. Mm-hmm. And so I've been trying to think about that like throughout doing jiu-jitsu now. And I'm hoping by the time I'm like a decent purple belt that I'll have this just like downloaded in my head.
Are you feeling that this is like going to help you to become a purple belt?
Oh, yeah.
Focus on alignment stuff.
And it's also just making more sense to me than when I was a white belt.
Yeah. Just
because I have more and more and more contacts. And even when we were playing around yesterday, I had a couple moments where I was doing some foot pummeling and I thought about it like, I noticed as I was doing it, some of the time I didn't feel comfortable. And it was because if you just would have shoved me, I would have fallen over because I didn't have any base. Both my feet were doing something close to each other.
Right.
And I sensed that as I was going. I was just like, why don't I like that? I'm like, oh, it's because if Levi just pushes me back, I'll fall over right now because I'm so focused on using my hands. My feet as hands that I should actually use my hands as feet, funny enough. So I have some way to absorb and apply force.
Makes sense.
So it's just kind of an interesting thing of like when you bring your legs together, it's actually kind of a bad thing in jiu-jitsu a lot of the time, Yeah,
you're kind of like shackling yourself a little bit.
Yeah, and someone can just grab them together, take away your base. Someone can push you over.
Someone like take downs or whatever too.
Yeah, get to pull the legs together. It's actually kind of a neat concept.
Rob talks about it as a double lever control.
Double lever control.
Yeah,
that's true.
2 levers. Double lever.
Lever control.
So weird.
What if if you have one finger and one toe, bam, you're in. You're in. That's the most distal control, right?
I guess so.
But yeah, so those were some lessons that I've been trying to imbue and learn and whatnot throughout my purple belt journey, my blue belt to purple belt journey. So from like a school perspective, from an overarching perspective, Levi, in about 5 minutes time.
What?
In 5 minutes, how do you make someone a purple belt?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all,
you only have 5 minutes to train them.
I can make someone a purple belt in 5 minutes for sure.
Yeah, just buy a belt and hand it to them.
Amazon Prime. No, I mean, purple belt to me is you're developing like a strong offensive game. I love the definition from John Danaher, that was saying that to get good at jiu-jitsu, you need breadth and depth. You need breadth for defense and you need depth for offense.
What's funny about that statement, though? You need breadth and depth. Yeah, that's everything, dude.
No.
I know. I'm
you
just
can't
like
have
being
like you
facetious.
can't focus on breadth and depth. Like you can't like go wide without like going deep. Like you could focus on going deep in one spot, but the time and effort to know breadth as well too is like tough. So I say that because I think still that analogy I gave of like going around the country as a blue belt still holds true. Like you still need this awareness of like to get thrown a lot of things at you. You need to be aware of like, this is what an Aoki lock feels like. This is what an omoplata feels like. This is what, so especially as a purple belt, you should have that full language conversation with any generalized jiu-jitsu practitioner and know and realize what they're talking about. Oh, I did this like omoplata to K guard. And you're like, oh, okay. Like you've seen these things. I think Hodger Grace was always talking about that. It's like you just got to keep up to date with like all the options. It doesn't mean you're fantastic at the options, but you have to be up to date so you can have the language. Like I expect Hunter should be able to know all these variety of terms and techniques that I talk about. Like he has a semblance of what they are. But going from blue to purple, now it's developing like strong A games for yourself. Like what best fits you? Like what's a great way you pass a guard? What's a good way you play the guard? What's a good way you hold people down or control people? What's a good way that you submit people? Like those are really main things that you have to focus on. Like as a purple belt, you should have an A game that you can take on any white belt and you should be able to tap them or go through them, like run the full gamut of jiu-jitsu on them and do it anytime you want. Blue belts should fear your main game. They can go, oh crap, Matt's a triangle choke or whatever. Maybe not Matt's triangles, but
yeah, not mine.
Not arm locks either.
Yeah, I'm pretty shitty at jiu-jitsu.
Some other spot. But or straight ankle locks. But like to be in it and already be like mentally tapping, as it were, because they've experienced it so much. But it's a good one to make you feel like if you're going against another blue belt or a visiting purple belt or whatever, like you can hold your own a little bit and be in the learning process of like what responses they give to you. Like you're still in the formation part of your A game, but there should still be like structure. There should be like a structure of a thing. But yeah, that's the offense. You should have like a rough A game of like what you do. And then depth or breadth should just be like you're just very aware of like, oh, the kipping escape, oh, the elbow escape or whatever. Like you should be very aware of everything else of how it works. So I manifest that in my studio with 5 mastery projects from blue to purple. So basically people pick one specific area of jiu-jitsu they want to enhance and focus on. And we just do that one at a time for each stripe, that they basically show me the ins and outs of the technique. And if I feel like they increase a higher level of awareness of it, then I stripe them with a blue belt. Otherwise, I still have the casual approach here that if people just want to play around and fuck around with jiu-jitsu, then I will stripe them as I see fit. But now I have like a highway type thing, People are coming here and go, hey, I really want to get at this. I want to really learn this. Like, give me. Then I have that as the pathway. So
nice.
That's a big thing. But as a purple belt, yeah, you should have an A game. You should be really aware of how to speak jiu-jitsu. Doesn't mean you're good at it, but you know how to speak it, and you can converse with other jiu-jitsu players at different gyms or tournaments or whatever. And probably as a purple belt, you'll start knowing now why you suck.
Mm.
You'll know why you suck. Blue belts don't know why they suck. But purple belts will know that they suck. Like, oh, I did this escape and he countered it this way. I should have done this. Or I was trying to get this. Like, they know the requirements met of them, and they can kind of self-analyze a little bit at that. Like, you're more aware of like why things didn't work out. Versus a blue belt, like, oh, I went for this arm lock and he pulled out, so I went to do this. They don't know maybe so much why it happened, but it's like they just know that I did the move that I know as a white belt, But purple belts is like, nope, now you're tuned into, why people leave or how people leave or whatever. It's like you have to. And then brown belt is like you just get more upset at yourself because like now you get people
That's
into
the crying in the shower.
Yeah, exactly. Because now you get people more in these.
That's why we want a shower.
Oh, you did a crying chamber.
Yeah. That's the crying room.
But you need now as a brown belt, you know what went wrong, and you can get more upset at yourself because you're like that. Most people I get, they don't come back from that. So how the hell did that person get out? And so it's a lot more anger than a purple belt. Purple belt's like, I didn't do this, I just think of Hunter for some reason. Hunter's like, I should have done better. You like very lackadaisical about it. Whatever, it's all good. But yeah, purple belts. I mean, purple belts is like the belt. It is 100% the belt. It is the most important belt.
A lot of people say it's the most fun belt who are like long-term black belts too.
Once you become a purple belt, it's a fun belt because the great quote I heard as a purple belt, which will be good for this podcast, is a purple belt could tap a black belt on their bad day, on the purple belt's good day, and they could get tapped by a white belt on their bad day. Because it could be a big white belt or you could get tapped. So there's a humbling belt right there in the middle where you can go higher or lower as a purple belt.
Plus, you got some skills, but the expectations aren't exactly there. It's not like a crazy thing to beat a purple belt.
And like I said, once you get to a purple belt...
But if you tap a black belt, you're like...
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, but then if you get tapped by a white belt, then it's just like, what the heck? Can't do that. But like
That's why we don't wear belts around here.
Yeah, no one knows. But yeah, as a purple belt, though, you've done all the hard work. And I'll say that because as a purple belt, you've had bad days, you've had good days, you've received tappings and you've given tappings. You've gone through every single which way. So once you get to purple belt, it's that same thing on repeat to brown belt to black belt. Like you've gone through the ups and downs and things like that. So you understand kind of the lifestyle of a jiu-jitsu person. And if you're at purple belt and you're like, I'm keep going forward with this, like you're good for jiu-jitsu the rest of your life. At that point, most purple belts I know that don't train, barring some sort of big injury, is that now it's about choosing schools, not whether they like jiu-jitsu or not. It's like, there's a place there's not many people by me that I just can't really train or do things. And most of those either don't train or they start their own club at that point. Like they just love jiu-jitsu enough that now they're a little bit of a mini deity amongst white belts. They can start their own shrine basically, and work through there. But yeah, once you get a purple belt, you don't hang it up and say, cool, I'm done. Like a blue belt can do that. A blue belt can be like, I did that. I got some weird injury, whatever happened. And then you go on with the rest of your life. You're like, oh yeah, jiu-jitsu. I did that for a year or 2 years. I got a blue belt and whatever. It's like, so the love of it doesn't linger too much. You kind of like kids getting a black belt in karate. It's like, oh, I did that thing, but you don't it doesn't become a part of your personality. Purple belts, though, you're a little more ingrained into jiu-jitsu culture.
Seems like you don't get a purple belt by accident.
No, and you become a purple belt, and it's like now it's just your thing. You're either watching jiu-jitsu, you're wearing jiu-jitsu clothes, you've got jiu-jitsu ears. Like you're a little bit more maybe jiu-jitsu. Did I say tattoos? Yeah, you get jiu-jitsu tattoos. But you're part of the culture now as a purple belt. So if you want like longevity for the rest of your jiu-jitsu career, get to purple belt. Because guess what? That is actually my main focus here for every single person is to get them to the purple. Once it's purple, now they're just a complete artist. Now they know the pieces, they know what they need to do, and now they're just taking care of it themselves. Now they just want a fun place to train at that point. But past purple, no, you're just doing that on repeat at that point. More efficiency, more effectiveness. I think I said the same thing twice. So that was funny. Oh, that wasn't efficient at all.
It was very effective, though, for driving your point home.
Yeah, exactly. Efficient, effective, and something.
All right. Well, I think that was actually a good recap and a good spot to end.
Yes. So any theory members are listening to this and want to get their purple belts, like I said, either you guys got the casual approach, or if you have a mastery project, reach out to me about it. If you don't have a mastery project, if you have one, I should know about it. And I don't think I know many of you guys who do have one. So if you want that, reach out to me and we'll make it happen. I got lots of white tape.
Boom.
Ready to roll on.
I think it needs to be thicker, though.
Yeah, I'm using whatever athletic tape or whatever. I think I could probably, because otherwise that's
we need to bump it up a little bit.
Yeah, you guys got to deserve it then. I want
a darker stripe on my belt.
A darker stripe?
Yeah, I'll be motivated then.
That's funny. We could do that. I had a person I'm not going to name, but they when they signed up some time ago, they were so gung-ho about the keychains that they wanted one for themselves to hang up in their car. They were like,
"That's cool."
I'm so propped. I'm like, I want to do that. But I will call one person, our own bison friend.
Yeah.
He told me he's got a white belt at home that he stripes.
That's cool.
When he stripes. I thought that's kind of cool.
That is cool.
Kind of have like his own personal motivation at home. So he's got this thing where he'll.
That's a cool idea. I like that.
That's not bad.
Nice job, Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Bison Man.
I think there's a difference, isn't there?
I don't know. Tell us in the comments the difference between a bison and a buffalo.
Whoopsies.
All right, so where can people find us, Levi?
TheGrapplingPodcast.com.
Where else?
The GrapplePod on Xbox.
No, where else?
At
You've
the
been
Grappling
doing
Invitational June 22nd.
Yeah, that too. But no, also, our social media,
Oh,
right?
social media
Like
too,
you've been
yes.
doing stuff on social, right?
Facebook and Instagram.
See, I don't have social media, folks, so Levi could be doing nothing with this, and I wouldn't know.
Matt's just completely off the radar. I'll send him things on Instagram. He's like, dude, I don't have that.
I do now
Oh,
for my woodworking project.
Do you want to promote that?
Nah.
Okay.
It's not ready. I shouldn't even be talking about it.
No, he's got to be great at it. He's got to do
I'm not
his
an
100
ambi-turner.
projects or whatever.
Yeah.
Sweet. Cool, guys. Well, thanks for everyone who's listened, maybe so far, for 50 episodes.
Yeah, thank you.
Which is fantastic. And if
Shoot
you guys
us
are
an email.
getting on the
Or
ride.
DM
so far.
us.
And yeah, we look forward to bringing another 50 to you guys, and hopefully learn a lot along the way. And we'll have to plan for some epic 100th episode. Maybe we should get like a whole bunch of people from Theory and just have some crazy round table and have people just grab microphones and
That could be cool.
Talk or whatever. I don't know.
We'll figure it out. We got 50 episodes to figure out.
That could go quick.
Yeah.
I guess 50 episodes.
It's going to be a year.
A year.
We got a year to figure it out.
Okay. Well, something to do.
All right. Great. Bye.
See you guys.